The Constitution of the United States, the Federalist number 25, continued, if, to obviate the consequence, it should be resolved to extend the prohibition to the raising of armies in time of peace, the United States would then exhibit the most extraordinary spectacle which the world has yet seen, that of a nation incapacitated by its constitution to prepare for defense before it was actually invaded. As the ceremony of a formal denunciation of war has of late fallen into disuse, the presence of an enemy within our territories uh, must be waited for as the legal warrant to the government to begin its levies on man for protection of the state. We must receive the blow before we could even prepare to return it. All that kind of policy by which nations anticipate distant danger and meet the gathering storm must be abstained from, as contrary to the genuine maxims of a free government. We must express our property. We must expose our property and liberty to the mercies of foreign invaders, and invite them by our weakness to seize the naked and defenseless prey, because we are afraid that rulers created by our choice, dependent on our will, might endanger that liberty by an abuse of the means necessary to its preservation. Here, I expect we shall be told that the militia of the country is its natural bulwark, and would be at all times equal to the national defense. This doctrine, in substance, had like to have lost us our independence. It cost millions to the United States that might have been saved. The facts which, from our own experience, forbid a reliance of this kind are too recent to permit us to be the dupes of such a suggestion. The steady operations of war against a regular and disciplined army can only be successfully conducted by a force of the same kind. Considerations of economy, not less than a stability and vigor, confirm this position. The American militia, in the course of the late war, have, by their valor on numerous occasions, erected the American militia, in the course of the late war, have, by their valor on numerous occasions, erected monuments of their fame. But the bravest of them feel and know that the liberty of their country could not have been established by their efforts alone. However great and valuable they were, war, like most other things, is a science to be acquired and perfected by diligence, by perseverance, by time, and by practice. All violent policy as to all violent policy as it is contrary to the natural and experienced course of human affairs defeats itself. Pennsylvania, at this instance, affords an example of the truth of this remark. The Bill of Rights of that state declares that standing armies are dangerous to liberty and ought not to be kept up in time of peace. Pennsylvania, nevertheless, in a time of profound peace from the existence of partial disorders in one or two of her counties, has resolved to raise a body of troops, and in all probability will keep them up as long as there is any appearance of danger to the public peace. The conduct of Massachusetts affords a lesson on the same subject, though on different ground. The state, without waiting for the sanction of Congress, as the Articles of the Confederation require, was compelled to raise troops to quell domestic insurrection and still keep a corps in pay to prevent a revival of the spirit of revolt. The particular Constitution of Massachusetts opposed no obstacle to the measure, but the insurance is still of use to instruct us that cases are likely to occur under our governments, as well as under those of other nations, which will sometimes render a military force in time of peace essential to the security of the society. And that it is therefore improper in this respect to control the legislative direction, and that it is therefore improper in this respect to control the legislative discretion. It also teaches us in the application of the United States how little the rights of a feeble government are likely to be respected even by its own constituents. And it teaches us, in addition to the rest, how unequal parchment provisions are to the struggle with public necessity. It was a fundamental maxim of the Lacedaemonian Commonwealth that the post of admiral should not be conferred twice on the same person. The Peloponnesian confederates have suffered a severe defeat at sea from the Athenians, demanded by Lysander, who had before served with success in that capacity to command the combined fleets. The Lacedaemonians, to gratify their allies and yet preserve the semblance of an adherence to their ancient institutions, had recourse to the flimsy subterfuge of investing Lysander with the real power of admiral under the nominal title of vice admiral. This instance is selected from among a multitude that might have cited to confirm the truth already advanced and illustrated by domestic examples, which is, the nations pay little regard to rules and maxims circulated in their very nature to run counter to the necessities of society. Wise politicians will be cautious about ferreting the government with restrictions that cannot be observed, because they know that each branch of the fundamental laws, though dictated by necessity, impairs that sacred reverence which ought to be maintained in the breast of rulers towards the constitution of a country, and forms a precedent for other breaches where the same plea of necessity does not exist at all, or is less urgent and palpable. Publius.